What's up, everybody? I just wanted to say a few words about our favorite spooky, scary holiday coming up, and that is Election Day. Yeah! So, that's probably the only joke you're going to hear in this, but the rest of it, I think, does need to be said. This is not an endorsement of any particular candidate. I just want to mention a few things in terms of what to consider regarding our choices that we have. I want to say them in a neutral fashion and just present them in such a way where I think giving a particular perspective to be able to see things that can help us make a decision. Because ultimately, I'm not here to tell you who to vote for. I am here to encourage people to vote. I am here to encourage people to really, again, take responsibility for this particular moment in time. Because realistically, we have four options. We can vote red, vote blue, vote third party, or not vote. Those are our options, right? At the end of the day, based on current readings and polls, it is unlikely to change that we will either have a blue or red president. That being said, there are many reasons to vote third party. There are many reasons to not vote. There are many reasons to vote blue. I'm not talking about reasons to vote red. That's not my perspective. I am not saying anything that's going to align with red values, so that's by design. Moving on. Given the three remaining options, we have to recognize that we don't have to recognize. I encourage people to recognize that while historically blue and red have effectively upheld a status quo, I no longer believe that both of them are doing that. I do believe that the blue party is representative of the status quo. I do believe that there are lots of issues for that. I have advocated for many third-party causes, and I think this year it is no longer the case. Based on what we've heard from Project 2025 and varying rhetoric from the right, it's going to be a different presidency this time around. I don't want to say that as a means to scare people. I don't think that this is baseless either. I think a 900-page document that explicitly mentions and supports the removal of government employees to be replaced not by ones of merit, but by ones of loyalty, and mass deportations day one, and many other things like codifying marriage as to being only, like federally, only being between a man and a woman. I think there's a bigger gamble this year. I think the federal guardrails that upheld in between 2016 and 2020 that allowed us to have an election may not survive this election. There is a possible outcome, a non-zero outcome. Again, not saying this to scare people, but just suggesting that people consider possible outcomes. There's a possibility that this may be one of the last elections for the foreseeable future. Federal elections. The Red Party has talked about being the first three-term president, and they've posited, or they've always posed as being a dictator, and I don't think comparisons as such, using the rhetoric, historically, there are just a lot of similarities there. I don't think it's unreasonable to compare them, and I don't think it's unreasonable to treat them as such, that those would be their intentions. Given that perspective, given that understanding, we have to understand that if you want the government to change in a way that benefits you or works for the people, not just you, right? That this is going to be more difficult in a country that will deem people enemies of the state simply for speaking out. That's going to make a lot of what we want to do much more difficult. I'm not telling people how to vote. I'm simply asking people to consider what they are wagering, because it's a wager. Think of it like that. If you are voting blue, it is a privilege to vote blue because you are not connected to Palestine. You are not connected to, unlikely to be connected to Palestine. You are unlikely to be connected to student protests or to have been connected to any kind of abuse by cops, right? If you are voting third party, you are unlikely to be in a swing state. You are unlikely to see this election as a wager, and thus recognizing that if the country changes, no amount of additional percentage to other parties would be honored. If you are not voting, you are wagering the idea that somehow this will not affect you or the people you love. That's what you're wagering. You're suggesting that on some level it's not important enough to participate for any reason, right? It's just not a priority. Whatever your reason is, I'm not here to judge your reasoning. I'm only stating from a neutral position that this is what we're doing. There is no getting out of this election cycle ideologically pure. There just isn't. So we have to be willing to understand that whatever we are wagering, that we take responsibility for. If you have hopes and dreams, right, whatever those are, whatever they may be, ask yourself, in what way would either possibility make it easier or more difficult for me to do this? Or in a simpler way, would I be more likely, would this election change the likelihood of me doing what I say I want to do? And if what we say we want to do is change the government for the better, but we're risking not being able to change the government at all, does that change your thoughts? It's up to you. I just think it's important to think about things like this. I really think it's important to be able to position, to acknowledge that there is inherent risk and inherent harm no matter what we choose. There's no great option. I wish I could say that there was a beautiful, happy ending to this, but the happy ending is being able to continue to do what we love and to be able to fight for the future that we believe in, to work towards the future that we believe in. And the fact that I said happy ending and didn't laugh should let you know that I'm pretty serious about this. That's all I want. I just want people to take responsibility for this time. Really, 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 truly ask yourself if we are taking the fullest responsibility for this as possible. If you are truly willing and ready to take responsibility for your actions this election cycle. And then act from there. That's it. Be well.